Welcome to Biztech's Leadership Conversation Show. Hexagon is a global leader in digital reality solutions, combining sensor, software, and autonomous technologies. Now, it's listed on Nasdaq Stockholm and has approximately 23,000 employees in 50 countries with net sales of over 4 billion euros. Now, here to tell us more is our guest today, Lim Boon Choon. He's the president of Korea, ASEAN, Pacific, and India at Hexagon Manufacturing Intelligence. Now, welcome to the show, Boon Choon.
Very glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Now, Boon Choon, for a start, could you give us an overview of Hexagon and its history?
Hexagon is a Swedish company that used to run small business in Sweden, including things like kindergarten and even fishery. But in the year 1999, our chairman hired our current CEO, Mr. Ola Roland, to transform the company. So he started transforming the company into a technology company with the first acquisition of Brown & Sharp, a famous metrology company in the US. And then through that, over the years, we have acquired over 100 companies and built the company into a company that sells all kinds of solutions. We have some of the world's best sensors, like from Leica Geo system, the world's first aerial camera to scan the buildings and cities even. And then also in the software side, we acquire many software in the world which are very famous. For example, Intergraph is used by all the oil majors in the world. And also MSC software that belongs to our division was the original software used by NASA when they wanted to shoot rocket to the moon. So they actually hired two MIT professors to work on the software to simulate the structural strength, and it's called Nestron. So it is a very famous company there.
Yeah, these are big names which I recognize, Boon Choon. So Hexagon is not a name that many people recognize, perhaps outside your sphere of industries that you focus on. Which are the industries that you focus on in terms of verticals? And what is your footprint like in the Asia Pacific region?
Right. So many people say that, okay, maybe I haven't heard of Hexagon. That's because we are mainly B2B and not B2C. And in terms of the companies that we acquired, when they hear of those companies, say, "Oh yes, okay, that I know," you know. But Hexagon, as a company, we are relatively young. The year 2000 until now, we expanded the company multiple folds. In terms of industry, when we tell the customers that 95% of automotive use Hexagon technology somewhere in the manufacturing, in the design, and everything. And about 90% of aerospace. And I always tell my customers that the next time you fly a plane, don't care whether it's a Boeing or it's an Airbus, it's got Hexagon technology somewhere there, you know. And also 85% of smartphones. And so your mobile phones is probably has got Hexagon technology there in the quality process somewhere. So things like this. Then the customer says, "Oh, I didn't know that Hexagon is so big."
And by doing the research on this for this interview as well, I didn't know that Hexagon was so big. Now, could you give us some examples of some of your specific solutions and some of the key customers that you serve in this region?
Okay. So in terms of specific solution, for example, in Malaysia, Esprit is our customer, Esprit. And so in the manufacturer of aircraft components, when you look at the wings and all those, these are very big components. And to be able to measure everything nicely, to make sure that they fit, we have our Leica trackers, which are very famous in aircraft assembly, measurement, and things like this, scanning. And then on the software, we have things like spatial analyzer, which is very good for fitting things in 3D. So let's say you want to try to fit a aeroplane wing to the main aeroplane itself. the mainframe, to be able to adjust things in 3D in real time before you fit it in using robots. That's also one of our technologies. So that is also applied to the oil and gas sector. For example, PT Saipem in Batam Island use our lasers to shoot at key points for it to, when you want to fit the top side of the FPSO to the ship itself. You need to adjust something that is weighing many tons with cranes, and that is not easy to do. If you don't do it properly, it's a safety concern and it can also destroy the connection. So things like this, we have those kind of technology. Then as far as the very high precision side, we also own the world's most accurate CMMs that goes down to 0.3 or even less micron in terms of accuracy. And sometimes I joke with customers saying that, Rolex watch is measured using our very high accuracy CMM from Leipzig factory, Germany. And I say maybe that's why Rolex is so expensive.
So Hexagon has been growing substantially in the last couple of years. Could you highlight some of your key growth areas and how perhaps you were impacted by the pandemic and also as a result of that, global supply chain disruptions?
Right. In terms of the business itself, actually we are quite balanced because we go across the whole world and roughly one third. In fact, Asia is slightly bigger. We are 40% in terms of manufacturing business because we are very strong in China, and we are in a very lucky position that in China we are number one in the market, and China is the world's factory. So being the world's factory, and we have about 50% market share over there.
Boon Choon, can I ask you, why are you so successful in China, which is a tough market?
Okay. China is a very interesting market. I think one of the key success factor is due to Hexagon's culture of believing in local people. So in every country, we have local people leading the business. So in China, our Chinese colleagues, I always hats off to them. They are very, very good. And they lead the business. It's been for many years. And they have done an excellent job of penetrating the Chinese market. And we have very strong and big factories there. And we have very innovative solutions coming from China for not just the China market, but also coming out into the world. So that is successful. Then the second thing about our balance is that we are into many different kinds of industries. So we have that natural balance. Some years ago, the oil and gas was down, but electronics was up and so on. And then when one goes down, the other goes up. So we have a natural balance as a company. So across geography as well as across industry. So when we see that, okay, the pandemic is affecting this part of the business more, we pivot towards another part of the business.
Boon Choon, in terms of challenges facing the company, the global economic situation has darkened considerably. So we are looking at recession staring across multiple markets. Also, there's going to be supply chain impact yet again, with lockdowns in China and so forth. Also issues around commodities. So Russia is a big supplier of palladium, for example. Neon gas comes out of Ukraine. Ukraine and Russia are the breadbaskets of Europe. What do you foresee as challenges coming for your business in the light of all of this?
Definitely the pandemic as well as the geopolitical situations are affecting everybody, not just ourselves, but also our customers. The advantage for us is that because our business goes into many different geography, as well as to many different industries, we can pivot the business. So where one side is going down, we try to pivot the business and move the resources, move the business more into another area. In general, there is still an impact we won't say that there's no impact, but we always try to be proactive to do things. One example is that during the pandemic, instead of the normal way that customers have to use their software license only in their own office, we make it available to customers to be able to work from home. So changing the license, allowing customers to be able to work from home and things like this. We even have kind of virtual meetings where we actually do demonstration virtually for customers. And customers also begin to be more open to this kind of thing. In the past, it will never be the case. They will always say, come to the factory. You know, during the pandemic, we have customers who buy our stuff based on a virtual call and seeing the demonstration virtually.
Also, one of the things, Boon Choon, is this, again, because Hexagon is a trusted brand, they are probably more comfortable in doing something like that. They were able to make that pivot, and it's not as big a pivot, say, for some other brands which are less well known.
You're absolutely right. And in fact, we also face the same problem in some countries where our footprint is not so strong, where we are not as long in those countries. We noticed that it was more difficult to build the trust, to build the relationship with customers. But in countries where we have a good footprint, we have an established team, we found that during the pandemic, we tend to do better. So despite all the problems, yeah.
So I want to take you up on that, and let's zoom in on one country that you're in the region, Malaysia. This is your 15th anniversary in Malaysia.
Yep.
Tell us about Hexagon's journey in business in Malaysia, and what are your plans moving forward?
Okay, yep. Malaysia is a very good example where we think that we have a good team. We have a good team. Over the years, our people have been, I think most of our people in our Malaysia team have been there for quite a number of years, especially the leadership led by Ms. Koo. And over the years, we have expanded our capabilities, but particularly also working with our distributors and our partners. That has really brought us very good inroads into the customers. We have developed that. On top of that, we are also engaging with the industry through the universities, like UiTM is a partner for us. And also in Penang, we work closely and we are a member of Penang Skill Development Center. So through this, we bring our solutions to the customers in the northern part of Malaysia, and we support many people through that. So Malaysia is a very good example. I'm very happy with our team there.
Now, Boon Choon, you're also doubling down on Penang, right? What are your plans for Penang specifically?
So in fact, the last time I visited Malaysia, I interviewed some of our customers in Penang as well as in the mainland near to Penang. And the customers were telling me that business is really good. And there's one of the MDs was telling me that his biggest challenge is manpower, because the business are coming, he is building a new factory, but couldn't find enough trained manpower. Sure, there's a lot of people in Malaysia, population is there, but trained manpower is difficult. So we actually have been working closely with Penang Skill Development Center to support them on training, how to do things better, faster, and also with the customers also introduce technology that allows them to work with more efficiency, more productivity. With the one worker can manage a few more machines rather than one worker per machine. Things like this, you can use technology to do those things. So because this is really an important part, just this year we opened up a new factory, a new office in Penang, and we are hiring more people also to support our customers in Penang.
Now, Boon Choon, what is your Hexagon's plans for 2023 and 2024? What are the key areas that you see that you're going to grow in the Asia Pacific region?
In terms of industry, particularly, we see a lot of interest in sustainability. So like EV vehicles, a lot of countries are moving into that. We are also very active in this space. Besides EVs, we are also going into things like wind power. Wind power is a key one. Solar power, of course. And then also some of the other areas will be in expanding our business in the electronics sector, especially as more investments start moving from China into our region. So we see there's really a movement. China will remain important. So you see a lot of companies talk about China plus one kind of a strategy, and we are there as well. The good thing is we are strong in China, and today China as a country is the biggest investor into Southeast Asia. And surprise, 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 number two is Singapore. So we want to work closely with our China colleagues, the collaboration with the China colleague as the China make the investments into Southeast Asia, into India. We want to support the customers as they come in. The good thing is because we are strong in China, so many of these Chinese companies will also use our solution. But at the same time, we need to form a very strong ecosystem with our local companies, and we work very closely through our direct sales force over here as well as our distributors. Yeah.
Now, Boon Choon, I want to zoom in on you right now. As a leader, you've had a great career working for global giants prior to Hexagon, like Honeywell, which is American, Yokogawa Electric, which is Japanese, and now, obviously now Hexagon, which is European. Could you share some insights into the differences and similarities in culture and leadership at these three companies, and how that shaped you as a leader?
Okay, it's a very interesting question. I started my career actually with Emerson. That was way before I joined Honeywell. And American companies tend to be more US centric in terms of their policies. What I see is that, they would think that whatever works in America should work elsewhere in the world. That is sometimes a good thing in terms of standardization, but also a bad thing in terms of how we serve the customers. For example, one of the companies actually had some rules like the service people will not go out to the customer until they get a PO from the customer. But that doesn't work in our Asian culture. In the Asian culture, it says, I've got a fire burning in my house. Send your fire engine here. Don't talk about how much money first. Yeah, so things like this, maybe it works in the US, but it's not here. So that understanding of the local culture is super important. And that's where the Japanese are good. And this is where, my last job, my biggest client is Shell. And the Shell was saying that, okay, they prefer to work with Yokogawa because if there's a problem, Yokogawa sends engineers, whereas some American companies will send lawyers. Okay, I'm not saying all American companies like that. Yeah. Those are some of my experiences. But on the other hand, I find the Japanese companies to be very conservative. We made some proposals to acquire companies to strengthen its portfolio and things like this, but they are very scared to go there. Everything they want to develop in-house in Japan, that is just too slow. When I come to work for Hexagon, I find that it's a very good combination. So on the one hand, there is a good culture in this company of choosing to trust the locals. So in every country, we have a local person as the country leader. And in APAC, we have me, a Singaporean, as the APAC leader. Instead of flying a Swedish guy over here or something like this. And so in that sense, we understand the local cultures. We understand the business culture much better. And that's the advantage. And then the other advantage I mentioned about the Japanese companies being very conservative, Hexagon is very aggressive. we acquire a lot of companies along the way and continue to build the portfolio, continue to build the capabilities. So that is some of the differences I see.
Now, Boon Choon, what would you give yourself, your 25-year-old self, advice as you are starting off your corporate career, now that you know what you know at 59?
Okay, I have two children and both of them are not interested in engineering. One is in a music field and one is in law. And I say that, you know, on the surface, when you look at engineering, it is not attractive. And in fact, many of my classmates who are doing very well, they went into banking, they went into law or other areas. But engineering brings wealth to the nations. And it's really important that we have good engineers and good products. So I really would like to encourage young people to consider engineering as a career. When we work, I think we need to have that self-motivation to drive things, to want to achieve success for success sake, not just because of the next paycheck.
It's been a fascinating conversation, Boon Choon. I really enjoyed this. But before we leave, any final thoughts and key takeaways you'd like to leave the audience with?
Okay, we've been talking about technology, and today everybody is talking about Industry 4.0 and some of the things that we introduce to customers to improve their operations. What we found is that some of the companies that are very established, they're very scared to change things. And they continue to say, okay, I've got a system in place. I'm not going to change it, even though it's a bit cumbersome. And then there are other companies that are small that says, okay, I'm small, I don't have money to do this. I like to encourage us to look at the whole digitization and all these kind of things in a way that is not looking at you have to do a big project that costs millions of dollars. You start small. Just take a small part and say, which part can it help me in my process to improve my productivity, to cut my waste, and to improve my quality? Do small things first. Get the benefit. Start small, then you scale fast. Once you get the benefit, you start learning how to do things better, and you have the benefits, and it encourages your people as well, and just scale after that. So don't go for the big thing, go for the small one and then scale.
Boon Choon, it's been a fascinating conversation. Thank you very much for taking your time to be on the show.
Thank you very much, Brian. It's been very enjoyable. Thank you.
I'm Brian Fernandez, and I've been speaking to Lim Boon Choon, the president of Korea, ASEAN, Pacific, and India at Hexagon Manufacturing Intelligence. And this has been Biztech Leadership Conversation Show. Check out www.biztech.asia for business and technology conversations. This interview will also be on our syndicated platforms via TV, radio, and websites. Thanks for tuning in.